welcome our artists for our final session today, the Nurturing Your Artistic Career panel. We have moderator Allison Yearwood, panelists Erica Daniels, Jorge Requena Ramos, and Joanne Roberts. Please take it away, panelists.
All right, thank you very much. Well, I think first and foremost, we should probably introduce ourselves so people have some kind of background to whom we are. I am Allison Yearwood. I go she, her. I'm the executive director of Plugin ICA. I am also the board chair for aceartinc. I sit on the board for Spiderweb Show, and I also sit on the equity committee for CAMDO. I'm a lover of the arts. I've worn many hats while pursuing my arts career. I've been fortunate enough to not only stay in the visual art realm, I've done dance, I've done performance. So I've been pretty fortunate to be able to have access and ability to see so many amazing artists in so many different mediums. Yeah, how about I tag in Joanne, since you're a new human to me and you've got a great pillow.
Oh, thanks. I just love playing with it. And I thought like usually it's super abstract and it doesn't do anything, but like, yeah, I was playing with it today and I was like, oh, a heart. So my name is Joanne Roberts. I'm a filmmaker in Winnipeg, Tree One. And in 2020, I won the Emerging Filmmakers Pitch Competition at Gimli Film Festival. And since then, I've been releasing a lot of different works. I've worked with Red Betty Theatre to develop a play that really amplifies Filipino voices. Most recently, I finished a 4-part series with CBC Creator Network that again, deals with the Filipino culture and just showcases 4 different individuals, including myself, who have been impacted with 4 different ways Filipino culture doesn't necessarily bring out the best in us and ways to empower the community and move forward. So super glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Creative Manitoba. Oh, I'll tag next. Jorge, what's up? Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jorge Requena Ramos. I am a Mexican creative, multidisciplinary artist, also living and working in Winnipeg here in Treaty One. In 2010, I won the Emerging Filmmaker, just to date myself a little bit, RBC Emerging Filmmaker from Gimli Film Festival. And I also play in a band called the Mariachi Ghost, and I'm the artistic director of the Western Cultural Center. So I have 3 full-time jobs. Speaking about nurturing your art career, I'll tag to Erica, whom I have so much respect for.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. I'm going to introduce myself in my traditional language. So Abuju, Denimaganatuk, Anamaki Makwai Kwen Adishnakas, Nigani Mikanaki Kwen Adishnakas, Wabazi Dodem. So my English name's Erica Daniels, and I'm Creo Ojibwe from Peguis First Nation, Treaty One territory, and I live here in Winnipeg. I am the owner and the executive director with Kijik Productions, which is a production company that I established in 2017. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur doing all types of video production and filmmaking. And we've been doing that for the past few years. And our niche, or not niche, but our passion is really telling Indigenous stories and doing telling those stories authentically. So great to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Ooh. Is that, I heard a voice. Okay, I'm keeping pushing. All right, so I have some wonderfully prepped questions that I can ask these lovely panelists, and they're going to answer them as honestly as they feel comfortable doing. But first and foremost, you all have diverse artistic portfolios: multi-dis, arts admin, entrepreneur, business owner, etc. What prompted you to diversify your art practice, and how did you start? And let's start with Erica.
So I started my journey through a program called Just TV, ran out of the Broadway Neighborhood Center. And I started in that program when yeah, it's a very familiar program. It changed a lot of people's lives. And I started when I was actually 15 years old. So that was 15 years ago. And I actually started when the program, like the first year that the program was established. And so through that, I gained like a huge amount of skills in video production and also music. Like that's kind of why I entered the program, because I was into music. But then I found a huge interest for telling stories and just storytelling from an Indigenous perspective. And so that's kind of where my journey began. And that just being part of that program, being a part of Broadway Neighborhood Center led to so many different opportunities. And I was able to work, for the city of Winnipeg doing video production through an NCIFM, CBC. It just led to so many different opportunities where I was able to expand my skills. Then I later went on to go through the National Screen Institute, and I took both the New Indigenous Voices program and the IndigiDocs program. So it was really just learning as I went and having the mentors and the support from the Broadway Neighborhood Center that really led me to where I am today. So I really do owe where I am today because of that program. So that's one of the things I think is like looking for programs and looking for mentors is what really helped me get to where I am, and sort of finding that passion and that gift of storytelling, and sort of using that to create this business now. So yeah.
Thank you. Joanne.
So my original discipline is acting. I started out acting at Théâtre Cercle Molière in French, and then I made a leap to Prairie Theatre Exchange, and then Theatre Projects Manitoba. So I was a theater artist. And then during that time, because I needed to pay rent, I also ventured into filmmaking and did a bunch of films there. And then boom, 2020 hit, and suddenly there were no acting jobs for anyone. So that really made me take a good look at what I wanted in terms of financial stability. Did I want to keep going in the arts? So I was lucky enough to have saved a little bit of money to be able to take a few months off. So I spent a few months doing personal development. So I did attend Creative Manitoba's Career Entrepreneurship Day last year as an attendee. And I really just took a few months to really build my skill set. Other than acting, what is it that I could do? And I think as an artist, you have a lot of transferable skills, but we also have a lot of autonomy over ourselves and our work. So, I mean, everyone's like, well, how do you get into like admin work? And like reality is if you're an independent artist, you have to do your own admin work all the time. So realizing that we have these transferable skills and really building on them. I took a lot of workshops in playwriting and producing and directing, not really knowing if I was going to enjoy it. But I think societally, the climate also dictated, again, wanting more autonomy over my work. So I realized I wanted to tell my own stories and add my voice to the conversation rather than just always being an actor telling somebody else's stories. And so really, I think what really brought my career to a different level is getting that notification in my email where the filmmaking competition at Gimli Film Festival, they were taking applications. And so I was like, well, I'm an actor. I've never written anything before professionally, but I was like, you know what, let's just take a shot. And I think that is a commonality between a lot of different disciplines in this industry is let's take a shot. And I ended up winning Gimli Film Festival, very surprising. And through that, I connected with a lot of different people, including CBC Creator Network. And that is where a lot of my work since then has come. I think the need to pay rent, but also realizing that I need to evolve as an artist. And I didn't necessarily like struggling for every audition and every job. Yeah, it was a big impetus over the last 2 years to really diversify. And I think it's come in really handy. So, yeah.
Jorge?
For me, I wasn't necessarily intending on having a multidisciplinary career. I've always just kind of followed fun. That sounds really irresponsible and stupid, but it's kind of a life philosophy. I am a member of the arts community because I love other members of the arts community, and I chose to live around art because I enjoy art the most out of all the activities that I could do. So I wanted to do it as a job. And very early on, I realized that I wanted to decide what my lifestyle was. And having conversations with my dad, who owned his own business and also was very stressed, like trying to figure out a lifestyle where I don't need to be super stressed and I can enjoy kind of every moment that I can kind of carry myself around. And that brought me naturally to music. That brought me naturally to theater. I've always loved film and wanted to be a filmmaker. I came to Manitoba, in fact, to be to go to film school. And after graduating from film school, I started playing music with a bunch of friends, and we had the luck of coming up to something magical, and we just wanted to do it so hard. So that's how the Mariachi Ghost kind of happened, almost accidentally. And as Joanne said, arts admin is something that every artist needs to just jump into the cold pool and decide to do for yourself, because it's like the only way that you're going to stand alone. Claim your own voice is by doing it yourself, and the opportunities that you can't be waiting for other people to give you opportunities. The opportunities you have to give yourself, and that's how you become an arts admin. I was just remembering that I actually interviewed Erica for a piece for CBC that I did about Just TV when she was 18, and I remember finding it very inspiring, and I learned from Erica about self-determination in culture, of like cultural self-determination of Indigenous peoples. I learned that from Erica when I had already lived in Canada for like maybe 7 or 8 years. And it's been one of the driving forces of my career, and trying to acquire my voice as a filmmaker and as an artist. I try to carry my culture first. I try to introduce people into my culture, help them understand why things are culturally important for people in Latin America, how they relate to things, because it's important for us to grow that relationship with each other and to give each other those tools. They're gifts. I've had many gifts from my Indigenous friends in their understanding of their culture. When they let me know things, they put me in place. They let me understand their life. I've had many gifts from my Filipino friends. When they cook me spaghetti and let me meet their mom and understand what their culture is about. And I think we can all do that for each other. And I've dedicated my entire career to that feeling of understanding between a cross-cultural understanding between each other.
Oh, those are some wonderful answers. Each of you kind of touched on the point of arts administration being really key in your careers. But I think for probably maybe some people who are emerging or daring to touch their toes into the ultra glamorous world of arts administration or creative entrepreneurship, all of you talk about building blocks and like one thing led to another thing, or one door opened another door. But for maybe some people who are introverted or don't come to it as self-promotion is the easiest thing I can do for myself, or that even some people understand that the very fact that they're very good at maybe content creation on digital platforms is actually a scalable skill for us in arts admin. So how would you kind of help foster that kind of quieter spirit, or that person who's maybe a little less confident in being able to kind of sell themselves? And I'll start with Joanne.
So as artists, it's up to us to advocate for ourselves. No one else is going to do it for you. And especially when you're an emerging artist, an artist of color, it's still a little difficult to be offered space. And so a big part of success is going out and making those spaces. And I think in terms of tips for someone that's a little introverted, okay, I hate picking up the phone and cold calling people. And that is like a part of my job now. But for somebody starting out, I think the last 2 years has really proved that there are so many different kinds of ways to connect with people. So I think the way to start is just sending an email. And it can be as easy as sending a cold email to an organization that you haven't worked with yet and want to, and offering services, or sending an email to people that you have connected with previously and asking, hey, is there any work that you can throw my way? I would love to get into arts administration. Please keep me in mind for a posting that comes in. I'd love to submit my name. So yeah, just being open to contacting people without necessarily being invited to contact. And I know that that's a scary thing. So like for me, when I was like a couple of years ago, when I was trying to get connections, I was terrified of bothering people. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to bother you in case, like, what if you're busy? But like the reality is, this is just what artists do. So in my role as a producer and a director and a reporter, I am never bothered by anyone popping into my inbox and being like, hey, what can I do with you? Let's collaborate. Or is there a job opening as a production assistant or a makeup artist in the future? So it's really just about really reaching out. And at the same time, it's understanding how to communicate with people in the most effective way. So, I mean, as artists, we're all doing so many things. Our hands are in so many different projects, and sending just a very quick note, 2 lines is all I need. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. Please let me know. And yeah, I think that that's the best way. So is as intimidating as it might be, like drop me a DM on socials or send me an email to my CBC email or find me on my website and send me something on the form. It's super accessible without actually having to be sociable and talk to people face to face, because I know not everyone.
I feel you on that. I sometimes like loathe having to like have these long drawn out conversations with people. Like, yeah, let's just get to the, like, what do we need? What do we want to do? Let's just do it. All right, Erica.
So for me, I can really relate with this question because I'm a huge introvert, but a lot of people might not know that about me when they first meet me, because I find when I'm in my element and when I'm speaking about something I'm extremely passionate about, that shyness goes away because I'm confident in what I'm talking about, or I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. So I think that's the difference. I think if your passion really speaks for itself. So if you love doing this work, like if you're a passionate artist, you know, that's going to really come across when you're speaking to people, and that'll change sort of the tone, that'll change your confidence in when you're sharing. One thing too, I think is donating your time and trying to reach out to your community by building those networks, volunteering, and building that community around you. Like that's something that I did early on, is connect with community. And like through my first job, I was able to work with the city of Winnipeg, and I got to work with all the programs that were Indigenous programs within the city that the Indigenous Relations Unit was funding. So I was able to go out to every single community and create videos for each of these organizations. And so that's what really helped me build my network, and just connect with the community, them getting to know me and sort of coming out of my shell in that sort of way. So if you can, like, I think that's the best resource, is just reaching out to the community around you and building that network, building that support system, because you know, I wouldn't be where I am today too without just my community backing me up and always like referring people to me or giving me those, like telling me about the different opportunities that are out there. So, you know, that's what kind of gave me confidence as well, is just having my community support and knowing that no matter what, like they're always kind of there encouraging me and sort of just, you know, helping uplift what I wanted to do, and sort of just always being there for me. So those are the main things I would say for people who are introverted. And because I'm the same way, I find it's a lot easier to talk to like a crowd of people than just like having those one-on-one conversations. So yeah, that's something that just really helped me through my growth within this industry.
Fabulous. Jorge.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have been able to have some really great mentors in my career. George Stolz from the University of Manitoba, Guy Madden. One of my best friends, Jeff McKay, who was a great mentor for me. Jeff is a Peabody Award-winning filmmaker from Winnipeg, and you know, it's a documentary filmmaker. You probably haven't seen his films or heard from him, but he's a hero, you know, outside of Manitoba. And I was working, you know, in the same office with him and having a discussion about a film that I wanted to make. And he was like, just call the guy. Just call the guy. Pick up the phone and call the guy. Find the phone number, call the guy. It's like, what do you mean? And like, Jeff has had some incredible people in his documentaries. He literally just found the phone number and called the guy. And he's like, hey, man, I'm making a documentary in Winnipeg about this. And people are like, oh, cool. Winnipeg is so weird and cold. Totally down to participate. And all of a sudden, if you have, you know, like cool partners in your project, it's very likely somebody will want to take it. You know, like if you can get Neil Young into your documentary, you'll get the documentary made, because like star power, right? And all it takes is calling the guy, apparently. A recommendation that Guyman gave me when I was starting, I took him out for dinner just to ask him, hey guy, how do I like do the thing? Like, imagine if I wanted to do the thing, how do I do that? And he was like, always say yes. Always say yes. You want to go to a party? Say yes. You want to go to work on this? Say yes. Like for the first 10 years of your career, always say yes. Always try to be in the right place, making the right connection, act in the movie, do sound for the guy, maybe cook donuts for the crew or whatever. Always say yes. And that's going to lead you to a place where people that say yes are, and you can meet people that are interested in the same thing that you're interested in. And it's not just like a professional thing. You're going to meet a bunch of people that are like-minded and cool, and like, and guys, like, that's how you meet your wife. Like, you go to a place and you like go to a place that you love, and they're there because they love that place, and then you already have something in common, right? And so you're going to make a lot of friends, you're going to make a lot of acquaintances, and very likely you're going to build a professional network that allows you to build up your skills.
Thank you. Joanne, you had an afterthought that you wanted to get back in there. So let's give you some space to get in there.
Thank you. Yeah. And everyone has such amazing points. So that's like such a wonderful way to build a network. But what's also super important is follow up. So for instance, if somebody sends me an email and they don't hear back from me for 3 weeks, it's not that I don't want to work with you. Sometimes it's just I checked your email and just forgot to respond. So following up a few times every couple of weeks, maybe you follow up every month or like even 6 months, just say, hey, I never heard back from you. Can we set up this conversation? Super important and never a bother. So yeah, if you don't hear back, follow up.
Can I also jump into this? Good work, Joanne. In film, we operate under the understanding that for every 12 times you try to lift a film, you will lift one film. So like maybe you have 12 ideas, or you try to sell, 6 ideas to 2 people or whatever, but for every 12 tries, you get one. For every 12 no's, you get one yes, right? And so I think another thing that is important, especially is to develop a sense of self-confidence. And I think for all 3 of us, it's developed through the crust of being burned through the fire of hell that we've had to do to get to live our projects. So we're going to give you this wisdom. Be patient, and you don't deserve the opportunity yet. Like I don't deserve the opportunity yet. You don't deserve the opportunity. You earn the opportunity. And so that's really complicated to like learn. And it comes, if you're not patient from the beginning, it comes with a lot of disappointment. It comes with a lot of sadness. It comes with small bouts of depression, because my project's really cool and nobody wants it. And it's not that nobody wants it; it's that it's gonna take a lot of work to lift it. And so it comes with a little bit of have patience now. Don't have any expectations that your projects are going to go somewhere right now. Keep coming up with ideas, keep writing up the projects, keep prepping them as if you were going to make them. Eventually you will. Like I have 12-year-old projects that are now getting attention from people. So, it's you remember that what you're doing this is because you like it. And so, you're going to grow less exhausted by being a little bit patient.
I have one more thing, Allison.
This is great. No, let's all like idea jam.
So like, I feel like all 4 of us are pretty accomplished in our own respective mediums. And I just wanted to ask, like, what does, like, you still feel rejection, right? I pitch every day at work, and maybe one goes through every week of the 20 that I bring to work. Like that fight for getting our projects done, that doesn't ever go away. So like, even though we're here, we're panelists, and I feel like we've got really great careers behind us and hopefully forward as well. Like that never changes. So like, if somebody doesn't pick up your work, it as far up the ladder as you go, that's always a thing. And like, even if you see us up here, like, it's not like we have an idea and then we pitch it and then somebody picks it up right away. It's always going to be a struggle for everybody. Struggle, I hope not, but like, it takes time, and that it's shared across experiences, across the different disciplines.
In the spirit of equity, Erica, do you want to jump in with a afterthought?
Well, no, just to that, yeah, like
honestly, it never, like, rejection is always happening, and you sort of just adapt to it. And, you know, the way that I think of it, it's just like, okay, well, what's next? Try out the next thing. But no matter what, like, if you're passionate about something too, like, just figure out, like, what can I do to improve this? Who can I talk to? Who can I work with to kind of collaborate with to improve this pitch or this idea? You know what I mean? Finding those resources to develop your idea and keep working at it until it is where it needs to be, when somebody's, you know, where you're just collaborating and getting that feedback from different creators to improve your work, and being open to receiving constructive criticism is really important as well.
That is such a good point. It can be really challenging when you get to certain roles in your own career and at certain positions to kind of feel like you're supposed to be kind of impervious to any kind of like attack or any kind of influence. But I'll say this about critique. People who really care about you are going to give you good critique. They're going to really tell you the truth. People who don't care, well, let's go. Okay. Yeah. I like it like that. Like, that's people who don't care less. But people who care about you are going to go, you know what, maybe it's coming off, like, did you want it to come across aggressive? Because it's feeling like, wow. And instead of, you know, sometimes feeling like, oh no, like I can't do this. It's like, no, they're just telling you, you just didn't hit the mark. And there's a way to kind of walk back and then start over again. And I think sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves and each other as creatives is the permission to walk yourself back. Like, sometimes we get so passionate and we're so bold and we're so impulsive, but sometimes it's like, oh no, I gotta walk myself back from that one. Yeah, and it's okay. It's not that you're a sellout. It's not that you don't get it. It's not that anything's wrong. It's just, you're creative, so that's what's going to happen. You're going to tear that sheet from that notebook time and time again, and that is so cool. And I love that each of you talked about having gratitude. Like, each of you in your own way talked about being humble, walking with gratitude, giving instead of asking for receiving. And I think that is so important. When people see that you're showing up when you're not even being asked to show up, trust and believe, people take notes about that. And that can create a reputation bigger than any kind of fancy smancy, oh, I did this over here, I did that over there. It's like, no, you've been consistent, you show up, and you're a caring, loving person. No one can train that. Like, I can train you to read a spreadsheet. I can train you to do agenda logistics. I can train you on iOS versus Microsoft. I can't train you to be kind. I can't train you to think or be empathetic. And when you see those qualities in people, people take note, and people tend to want to gravitate towards those people. So I'll just always, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, like, you know, just be nice. It sounds so easy, but it's so hard.
You know, I try to, because I have to jump in between industries so much, I try to compare what an industry is doing versus what another industry is doing, and what's good and what's bad, right? And there's a lot of bad things about all of the industries, but there's a lot of really good things. In the music industry, for example, when you look at somebody that is already successful, even if they're 17, 18, sometimes they're really, really lucky. And like the arts industries are very luck based. So, you know, give yourself a break sometimes. People are just lucky a lot. But there's a lot of people that in the music industry that spend a decade cutting their teeth at the same bar. They just had a Wednesday gig and just came and played like the same 10, 20 songs every Wednesday for 10 years. But then after the end of the 10 years, they're just so good at what they're doing that they're undeniable, right? And that's why it's really cool to, for example, like Erica was working at Just to Be for a really long time and just honing her skills, you know, working with so many different people, being by the camera the whole time, you know, like people that work at CBC have an opportunity to like work on their things every day, storytelling, every little time is kind of a story that you have to write for you know, if it's about like a cat competition or like the best curry in Winnipeg. They're all stories that you have to learn to tell and learn to write, honing your skills. So never underestimate the power of spending a lot of time working on your craft without being noticed. You know, like I worked on set for like 10 years and like, you know, I learned exactly how to make a movie. I watched 100 different directors make choices, right? And so I understood how to make kind of shoot coverage from working there. It's every little thing that you do, every job that you take is also taking you to school. And it's really important that you like that because you're creative and you want to have a company and you want to have your own voice. And it's very important that you do have all of those things. But every little bit of work that you do for someone else will inform and empower you to do a better job when it is your turn to claim your place.
I love this. It's like so many good knowledge bombs just being dropped. Okay, how about another temperature check, everyone? How's everyone doing? Are we good? You need to get up and stretch your back out. Like, please stretch your back out. So what compelled you to move into leadership roles within the art community? Oh, I love like how that question is framed, like we can just take lead. Let me just preface this question. You cannot just design a leadership role in the arts in Winnipeg, FYI. Like this is like world class in Winnipeg. We are like the Olympics of art, the arts. Like if you can make it in Winnipeg, you're big, baby. I'm gonna start with Joanne.
I think, like, honestly, the last 2 years have really given me such time to take some introspection towards myself. And if the pandemic didn't happen, I'm really hesitant to say that I would be where I am now. I think I would still be slogging in terms of trying to find acting roles and trying to find space as an Asian in the industry. And it was really the social climate at the time where I was like, hey, I don't hear Filipino voices where I want to hear them. I don't see Filipino faces where everyone else is being reflected. And so it was really that impetus where I was like, hey, I have a voice and I have a story. I have a lot of stories and I think I deserve some space. So it was that really, and I'm really fortunate to be in a position where people find me to be somewhat of an expert and I get invited to do these talks. But I'm super hesitant to say like, oh, I took a position in leadership. It was just, I wanted to hear more voices from my diaspora and I fought to get places made and I'm still fighting to get places made for people like me. So yeah, it's just wanting to diversify the media so that like little Joanne who didn't get to see any Asians on TV, she doesn't have to do that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Toni Morrison writes, if there's a book that you can't find, you are obligated to write it. Erica.
Yeah, so for me, I guess it was just something that I sort of came into, just being an Indigenous woman and having the skills that I acquired from, the program that I was in, learning how to use cameras, how to edit, how to write, how to do everything from writing to production to post-production, and being able to actually put together a whole project by myself is kind of what gave, and then learning from my mentors, learning from different professionals in the industry, and picking up on that knowledge and carrying it forward is really what gave me those leadership skills. I owe it to all the mentors who've been a part of my journey, and I guess too, like filling a void within the industry as well as an Indigenous woman. There's not many Indigenous people in general, but even Indigenous women. Right now it's really exciting because there is a lot more Indigenous people that are coming up within the industry. So that's wonderful. And but a little bit earlier, if we look back to even just a few years ago, there wasn't. So I guess that's something that I wanted to really help bring up, like next generations. So giving back and, giving back to community, giving back to specifically Indigenous women as well. So with Kijik Productions, that was something that, I just with the demand, realizing that there isn't that many Indigenous storytellers. So seeing that there was such a need for more of our people within our community to tell our own stories, instead of, outsourcing for people to tell our stories for us. That's kind of what a huge need that we were really seeing. So I was able to mentor my time to be able to uplift other Indigenous women. And so that's kind of what formed Kijik Productions. And even looking back at the pandemic, like prior to the pandemic, the pandemic really helped. It showed us like how much work there actually is out there, especially now with everything being digital. So there was just a huge demand for services and different organizations and wanting to go in and tell Indigenous stories. So instead of, they were looking for Indigenous people to help them or partner with them or, and so that's kind of the void that we filled. And so that's kind of the way that I kind of went into this leadership role, I guess, because I'm still learning. Like, I don't really look at myself as a leader. I try to just bring other women with me as well. So that's what Kijik is we have a core team of Indigenous women that are telling our stories. And trying to give back and keep continuing to uplift and share our skills with the next generation of Indigenous storytellers as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I noticed that there wasn't any, there wasn't a lot of space for people with accents, not just people with accents that sound like mine, but just people with accents in general. I noticed people when I was going to university, I had an incredible teacher of arts in math, Dr. Pat Banaban, and he was from Pakistan. And I remember students next to me snickering about his accent. This is like, a genius at math, but he's teaching us how to observe symbols in math in art. It's like, so you're supposed to be sitting there watching beauty. And then instead there's oh, his accent's so hard to understand. And so I wanted to just force people out of their comfort zone, and nobody was doing that, and I did that part as part of my job at CBC. My voice has an accent and you're going to listen to it, whether you like it or not, because I have things to say. And people that have accents, people that they speak more than one language, more often than not. And they probably know more than you. And so it's important that we open spaces for those people. And I opened up a company with a friend of mine in Orlando, and it quickly realized that you can be working on set and oh, it's the producer, here comes the producer. Oh, it's the director, here comes the director. Everybody, avert your eyes. But you can just be the producer and the director if you get a camera from the Shoppers Drug Mart. You can give yourself the title. You can just do it. You can open up a company at the company's office. It's $75 or something. Those are things that you can do for yourself. And it took me a while to figure that out. But all of a sudden I was going to, I was going to TIFF with hey, producer. Oh, it's producer on my thing. And I'm standing with other people that are producers. And it's claiming a spot in there that you can, that's something you can give to yourself. And if you really want it, just do it. It's not that hard. It feels like a jump, but it's really not. 2 weeks after you become the producer, you realize there's a lot of problems that you have to solve, because those leadership positions aren't just leadership positions where you're observed from below. There are places where you have to guide people and help people do their job and acquire responsibility and demonstrate capacity to resolve problems and have a strong emotional core, so you can be there emotionally for the people that you're working with. And it's very important that when you're a leader, you don't recognize yourself as a person above, but as a part of the team that just happens to have more decision power. And decision power isn't always good. When you make a mistake, it really makes that you make a mistake for everybody. Everybody gets your mistake for free. And so it was something I wanted, and quickly realized that it came with a lot of caveats that I needed to learn.
Thank you, Jorge. Your answer talks so much about the responsibility of being a compassionate leader and a leader who actually serves their team. I personally believe in service leadership, so I don't believe that. I actually hate and cringe every time people on my team talk to me and go, "Oh, the boss," and I'm like, "Oh, yuck!" I'm not part of I'm a girl boss. Bam, I'm a bam. No, what? Shut up. I'm actually here for the people that I work with, because if I nourish them, if I invest in them, I don't have to direct them. I don't have to give them long task sheets and long Gantt timelines, because they are going to be so committed into what I am leading them with that they are going to naturally just take it and run. And when you see people believe in what you believe in and what you are doing, but they make it their own, it's not like I'm not making Team Alliance, which I am, but it's everyone has their own flavor of allianceism. And I love that. Like it's like making my own religion in a non-cult like fashion. That's how I feel I am doing this. So, but really, I think the best leaders are leaders who understand that you're not just at the front, sipping the wine, pressing the flesh, just getting the money. You're the person who's also like setting the tone. You're the one who is setting the environment. You're the person who's doing the vibe checks. You're the person who's setting the vibe. And you're the person who can actually make so many more people in your own industry sink or swim, because how I'm investing in these folks is how they're now going to break away eventually and create their own little kingdoms and their own little serfdoms. And if I give them enough love juice that they go and they make more love everywhere else, then the whole industry just becomes a little softer, a little gentler in ways that isn't so aggressive, isn't just me being like, you're gonna be nice, you're gonna be friends with people who are melanated. No, it's like, no, let's make this a safe space where melanated people actually want to come and not feel weird and like they're in a human zoo. Okay, moving fast along from ideas about racialized people in human zoos, let's just ask a new question. So can you speak to creating a sustainable, right? Can you speak to creating a sustainable career in the arts? Like it's art, like we are the ones who have that option factory. But I love that people are bestowing us with the empowerment that we are the ones making the art sustainable for us. So, what would you say to folks looking for financial stability, but nervous about how that could impact their industry, i.e. anxious about how doing arts admin, production coordination, etc., could take away from focusing from their original discipline? Oh, ain't that the truth? Don't we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome when we slip in and out of our, like, I'm a professional arts administrator? No, I'm a creative who is passionate and angsty. Jorge, since I've never started with you yet, I'm going to start with you now.
Why did you start with the angriest person? Making a living and making art don't need to be the same thing. It's super important to know. There's a book called Real Artists Have Jobs that everybody in the arts administrator or that wants to be an artist should read. You can have a job as an accountant and be a painter, and you can enjoy both, and it's cool. And maybe if you're an accountant for painters, there's a career right there. So it's important to know that those two things don't need to be attached. So if you want financial stability, you can focus on financial stability. One of the biggest lessons that I got from Arnold Schwarzenegger, believe it or not. And it was like a ridiculous like uplifting talk that he was giving about pumping iron or something. But it was like, when I was young, I found a way to just focus on one goal. I wanted to be like the most muscular man in the world, and that was the driving force of my life. And that's how I got to like Terminator and being the governor of California, whatever. And it sounds like slosh, honestly, but it's so true. And it's figuring out just one and like focusing just one goal that you want out of your career. And it could be complicated. You could spend time sitting there for like 2 weeks, just coming up with the right phrase that is your mantra that you're going to follow every day. I'm super not spiritual. So I'm coming in from like a person that like hates spirituality. I'm telling you this, right? So it's not like wishy-washy, like hokey pokey. It's like, teach yourself how to focus on the one goal. Do you want to be the best director in the world? The most cutting edge filmmaker in the world? That's your goal. Go for that goal. That you might not make any money, but that's your goal, and that's okay. You get your goal, you will resolve it, you will chase it, it will be so good, right? Do you want to claim the voice of a generation of racialized youth and teach them how to teach the world about their culture? That's your goal, and you can follow it every day. And so it's it's super important that you find that goal, and that goal can also mean financial stability. But those things aren't going to come easy, and the model for that is something that you have to make for yourself. And by all means, take the job at the Domo. If you really need to pay your bills, like your film, it'll get done. Your painting will get done because that's what you love to do. You can't stop yourself from doing it, right? Like I love playing music so much that I don't like pay myself to do it. Everything that we make in the mariachi goes back into the bank so we can travel and we can do other shows. We don't pay ourselves money to do it. And we're one of like Manitoba's biggest acts, and we don't pay ourselves a cent for the shows, right? Maybe I shouldn't be telling you that because some musicians are going to be mad at me. But you have to find a model of sustainability. I play music because I love music, because it fills my heart, because I couldn't go to work in the morning if I didn't play music, because I couldn't be a parent if I didn't play music. My cup would be empty. And so it's a very complicated thing in the arts industries because you're making art for yourself because you love it. And so the moment you lose that, you lose a part of your personality, right? And art is giving you the license to claim your own voice, to make a living. There's a lot of things that you're asking from art, right? And so you can figure out a way to do other things. We all got into arts administrative because we needed to apply for grants. We needed to meet all the arts administrators. We needed to pay our taxes. And so over time, you develop all those skills. And then, like, to be honest with you, I started working at the Western Cultural Center because the music industry is broken. And I found a place where I can, I love my job. It's a great job, but I also get financial stability from having a steady income from working on a 9-to-5 job. That's something that was very hard for me to do in film because the films that I want to do don't sell any tickets. It's really hard to get them made. And so, I still want to make those films. I'm not going to ask for permission from anybody to make them. I just don't have to ask them for money. And so it's important to differentiate. You can be financially stable in the arts industry. You can be financially stable in the arts industry, but you have to give that to yourself. You have to go to TIFF. You have to go to Banff. You have to go to markets. You have to travel around. You have to call people. You have to do all the things that we're telling you that we did. And all three of us, Joanne, Erica, all four of us, Allison, and myself, we're all trying to do work to make it easier for you. We're all trying to do work so that what we did to get into the arts industries isn't as hard for you. And we don't want to thank you or anything. We're just doing it because we know it's the right thing to do. But that's what we have in common, and I believe that's why they asked us to be here. And we want it. This is a paramount time. You're at a perfect time and an opportunity where, like, we know the model of the arts industry that we worked on is broken. It's exclusive. It's it's not built for people that look and sound like us. And we are at a crux where we can actually change it. We're talking about the new normal now a lot, and you're the new normal. And so it doesn't matter if you're like 50 and just starting, or you just realize that you love painting and you want to figure out how to make a living. I don't know why I'm using painting as an example, but I know a lot of painters that actually make a living, so it's interesting. And not a lot of musicians that actually make a living. So go painting. It's a time where you can actually. We're trying to build a new industry. So getting into it right now with the new tools, with the live streaming, with the Zoom, with like all of the different avenues that you have now to distribute your work, it's an incredible time to be in it, to be in there, and you are allowed and have the opportunity to have your own voice. And honestly, ask us for help. Like, a part of my job at the WEC is I help artists fill grants. I'm very good at getting grants, which is the only reason I can make movies. And so come talk to us. Send us an email, call us. I'm not offering you your guys' time. I'm sorry. I'm offering my time at the WEC. Yeah, I help people fill grants. Don't call me the day before the grant is due because I won't help you. But a month before the grant is due, I will read your grant and I will tell you what needs changing, and et cetera, et cetera. And there are a lot of people like me. So use us as a resource.
Thank you, Jorge. That is very true. Yes, reach out to the people you admire. You'd be shocked at how many of us will simply just go, hey, what's up? What do you want? All right, Erica.
Just speaking to my own personal journey, I guess it's similar to Jorge about finding a job, like that financial stability in the industry that you're interested in, and sort of building your networks there and building your skills through those positions. So that's what I did. Just every job that I had was always surrounded by videographers, people within the music industry, film industry, and just sort of using that as a stepping stone to build those networks and build my skills, and which eventually led to, you know, being able to do this passion freelance while working full time. And then you're gonna have that transition where you realize it's like you have to choose one or the other. And for myself, like I didn't want to have any limitations to the stories that I was telling. So, you know, working with different companies and trying to share stories through them, there was limitations, right, to what you could share. And so that's something I didn't want. I didn't want to be limited to what I could share and what I could say and I couldn't say as a creator. So it came to that point where it was one or the other. It had to be like, for me, my personal journey, you know, being a mother, you know, I couldn't be working full time and doing my passion work freelance anymore. So I made that leap, and knowing that I had the community behind me and the network that I've built over the years of having, you know, those jobs within the industry, I had the confidence and trying to go out on my own. And so I tested that, and I realized quickly that there was an opportunity for me to be financially stable and doing my own business and still doing what I love without any limitations, and sort of expanding on that. And that's sort of how I got to where I am, is just taking that leap of faith. But also, you know, of course, you have to sort of take the stepping stones to build that network. You have to build sort of those clients that are going to be there for you, and sort of expanding yourselves, and yeah, just really building that network to make sure that when you do go on to having your own being financially stable within your own art, is that you have that continuous work. So that's what really helped me, is just building that network through all the different opportunities that I took. And again, like, something that really helped me was I never said no to any opportunities. No matter what it was, I would always say yes. And I would realize if I enjoyed it. If I didn't, I wouldn't do it again. But you would never know without taking that opportunity to try. So that's something that really benefited me. And then also just looking for all the resources, any training opportunities that were available, I always took them. You know, and that's something that really, because that also helps build your network within this industry. So always looking for different opportunities to expand your knowledge, expand your network, expand the resources of the people that are willing to help you within the industry that you're in. And even being in Winnipeg, there's just so many organizations out there that are available and want to help you, want to see you succeed. So I'm grateful that we have such a great network of people that are willing to support us through our careers. So.
Yeah, it's a good point, Erica. Joanne.
Just further on Erica's personal development and finding these workshops, you can also do that on a zero budget. So in 2020, when I was working on personal development, I didn't pay a cent for any workshops. And I know that a lot of organizations do charge a fee, but if you are strapped for cash, as many of us artists are, reach out to them, because often they will have programs that can either subsidize in part or completely the registration fee. So don't ever be afraid to reach out and take that space for yourself if you can't financially make that. So everyone's made such amazing points. I'm going to go in another direction. So my personal mantra is, don't do work unless you get paid. And that is so much easier to say than it is to do. But if you have this amazing idea, that is never going to go away. So you don't have to rush and fund your own film, and hopefully it takes off in the film festival market. You can wait for funding. Someone is going to be interested. You'll get a grant at some point. Like, you can wait on that. And so you can spend your time doing projects that give you money. And sometimes it's not always glamorous. Like, do any of us really want to be an arts admin for the rest of our lives? Then the answer is probably no for a lot of people. But if that gives you a paycheck, and at the same point, what Jorge was saying earlier, every single job that you take in any state, like every capacity gives you a skill to move forward. So like the arts administration that we have to do as individual artists, that gives us skills to work in organizations, which then further our skills. If I take a job on set as a PA, I get to make connections and I get to further my skills as a production assistant. So it works at every single level in every single discipline. And I think for me, that was part of how I was able to get financial stability as an artist. But also what's really important is looking ahead. So at the moment, I'm on a 5-month contract as a journalist, and it's going to end at some point, and it can get extended. It cannot get extended, but 2 months into that 5-month contract, I'm already looking ahead to see what can I do after my contract expires in April. And you can do that by following organizations on Instagram, all social media, signing up for the mailing list so that you get these opportunities straight to you. And you can evaluate whether or not you have the capacity to take it on, if the money is worth it, or if you just want to move on to something else. And sometimes like that's not a foolproof thing. I have nothing lined up in the month of May. I'm scared as shit. But if you don't get those opportunities to you, again, outreach, super important. Reach out. Who is hiring? Who is available? Where can all of these skills that you have amassed as artists? We have such transferable skills and ridiculous skills that like no one else has. Where can you fit in the best, and where can you get that paycheck? And then also never discount grants. That is, everyone, like I hate writing grants, but I do it because it's such an important part of being an artist. And I had another point, but I totally forgot what it is. And if I remember, Allison, I'm going to send you a message.
Please do. Please do. These are like driblets of knowledge just coming out of these mouths. So it's like we need to collect all of them as we can. Not aerosol, but driblets. My Lord.
I remember.
Do you remember?
I do.
See?
If there is a roadblock in front of you, don't just give up. Figure out why it's a roadblock. Is it a roadblock because you don't have enough experience? Okay, go get that experience. Is it a roadblock because your project is not quite what they want? Well, then figure out what they want. And if that's something of interest, go for it. If it's a systemic roadblock, which many of us have faced, then take up the space and challenge it. Ask why this is a roadblock and let them know, hey, this is affecting a marginalized community. This is affecting emerging artists. This is affecting a very specific amount of people, and it shouldn't give you that disadvantage. So taking up that space, it's scary, but it's really important. And I think that all of us with the advocacy work that we do, like we still have to do it. Everyone has to do it at some point. And if you can handle that pushback, if you can handle the criticism, if you can handle being an unpopular person in the room, then you can make space for the next person so that somebody else doesn't have to face that same roadblock. So, I mean, we're all individual artists, but like at the heart of it, we're all collaborating with each other on some level. We're all pushing for each other to get work and to get paid and to take up space. So that's super important. And if you need support, exactly like Jorge said, like reach out to us. If somebody has presented you a roadblock and you can't push it, one of us will push it for you. And then we'll hand off the reins and be very happy. So yeah, reach out, slide into our DMs.
Oh my gosh, sliding into the DMs. Oh my God. All right. The next question that kind of tailors off of the last one we asked is, how do you find balance if you work in multiple disciplines / areas of the arts? I think most of us probably from time to time have become multi-disc. Jorge, you've spoken about working in film and then switching into music. I open it up to the panelists here. I am finding it less and less a thing that the boundaries of our creativeness is a thing. Like, yes, maybe you started your career as a visual artist, but you might end it as a dancer. Well, yeah, you won't actually end it as an answer, but anyways, but who knows? Actually, we should expand. Why is dance so, ageist? Why don't we have more seniors, busting it out on the stage? I'd like to see
I really
older
wish you hadn't said busting, because that just sounds like they're hurting themselves on the stage.
I realized as I walked myself into that statement that I wanted to walk myself out, because all I was seeing in my brain were all these people breaking hips, and it's like, that's not a thing. It's not a dance thing. Like injury is not dance. But I think we need to kind of maybe give ourselves the permission to kind of not be so beholden to like these kind of classifications or these mediums. Yes, they are ways for people to understand practice or descriptors, but I don't think they're really the boundaries that I think they once were, maybe even like 5 years ago, or even maybe even pre-pandemic. I think that people are allowed to kind of explore their creativity as boundaryless as that is, meaning if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a director, yeah, go for it. So
I think you have a pretty good sample group here, because the three of us make films, and film is one of those places where like it's an art form that is made up of a bunch of other art forms. And so to be a film creative, you have to kind of understand, at least superficially, like you can't make an animation without understanding visual art, right? Like if somebody, especially if you're not making it yourself and somebody else has helping you make it, you have to learn how to communicate with other artists in their language, with their terms, and like, I think the three of us have dabbled into some more experimental things. I've watched both of your films, the films from both of you guys. And now the Canada Council, like, I'll give you an example. I applied to become a filmmaker in the Canada Council, and the film department of the Canada Council said no to me. They were like, you can't be a filmmaker because you work in the film industry, but because you work in the film industry, in a job in the film industry, you're not a director. That's not how it works. You can't be a PA and a director. You can't do both. And so, but I am a musician. It's undeniable. I have a bunch of albums, right? So I applied to be a musician. And then I got the music section to give me money to make films. And then I made the same film that I was going to ask for money from the Canada Council. And now that I made the film and it's going to festivals, the Canada Council has to approve me to be a filmmaker. So there's always a way around if you can transfer your skills to another artistic place, and it's become more and more blurry, specifically for funding. You can get funded for a lot of projects that are not specifically what you want to do. Like if you see yourself as a musician, but like you also are very good at something else, writing, then maybe you can just go writing. It's and they can give you the money for it. So you're right. I think we're moving those distinctions of genre and capacity a little bit less, because they are restrictive. They are restrictive. Like sometimes your voice doesn't come in a predictable form, even as a trained artist. Like sometimes as a filmmaker, maybe you just want to write a song or dance, right? And you should be able to do it. Especially because you might discover something that is just going to empower your career for the rest of your career.
Joanne or Erica, do you want to?
I'll go. I want to address Lana's question in the chat. So hesitant to dig further into arts administration because sometimes it takes the mystery away from being an artist. I don't necessarily think that's true. And people who perceive it that way, I don't know, they must be in a specific part of their art journey where they're too proud to take on arts administration. Arts administration is such a powerful thing because you get those skills to learn how to communicate not only with your team, but with other members of the art community. So like as an arts administration, when I had to find somebody for an article that I had to write, I contacted Jorge, and I was super comfortable in being able to cold call somebody and be like, hey, you don't know me and I don't know you, but I need you for this project. Will you come on? And having that comfortability to be able to reach out to people is so important. But also as an arts administrator, you have your pulse on the organization. So when I was working as an administrator for Theater Projects Manitoba, I was, I think I was their marketing and something administrator, but I was also able to go right to the heads of those organizations and be like, hey, I have projects. I'm already here. Can I do something with you? So it's a super powerful position. And being an arts administrator is by no means neglecting your main art form. It's another way to get these skills. We all have to become mini experts in different things. And yeah, arts administration, super powerful. I would heavily recommend people to at least give it a try. I think this is one of those industries where if you are afraid to do something, you're not going to get very far. So exactly like Erica said, say yes to everything. And if you don't like it, you never have to do it again, but you get that experience. And who knows, like I had no idea 2 years ago, I was an actor. Right now, I'm a journalist and I love it. And there's no way I would have known if I didn't take that shot and need to pay rent, but take that shot and just say yes.
Erica, did you want to add or?
Yeah, sure. And again, like for myself, even through my company, like we do all different types of production. But one thing, like there's one stream that pays the bills, which is usually corporate, and working within those, which aren't really, I wouldn't call those my passion projects. Yes, they're very important projects to do because they're helping other people tell their stories, which I love. But it's also not feeding my own spirit of wanting to share my own art. So that's kind of the balance to like having the balance between those two industries, really, I guess you can call it, because it's completely different. So what I've found for myself is making time to really commit to my own art and putting aside a certain amount of time that I'm just focusing on what I want to do, what stories that I want to tell, and kind of like you have to make time for that. But also, of course, we need to pay the bills. So that's one of the ways that I was able to balance that, is just finding a way to be able to still do what I love and completely invest into building my skills, but also making time to really commit to what I'm passionate about doing and sharing the stories that I want to share from my own perspectives without any limitations. So, but then also, I guess too, is having an understanding of the different roles within the industry. So for me, like I came up learning about video, like how to shoot, how to edit. But as I grew within this industry, I realized that I want to be a director. I want to be a writer. So that's really like kind of the transition. But what helped me within what I'm doing as a writer, director, producer now is I understand all those levels. I understand how to shoot. I understand how to edit. So that really helped me, advance in where I am today, and sort of gave me that understanding of the full industry and how to do everything, so that I can have that communication with every person that I'm working with and be, a good leader in that sense, to know what I'm talking about and how to, improve my team, and how to just kind of have that communication and that understanding on all different levels of the different artistic skills that my team have. So yeah, just to share on that.
Jorge, did you have something or?
Yeah, specifically in the case of Lana, who's like she's a multidisciplinary artist. She writes plays and she makes films, and she plays. She's an incredible musician. Listen to her; she's great. I think Lana specifically, like I'll set you as an example because you asked the question, and I put you on the spot. You can benefit a lot from working, for example, at a place like where I work at the WEC. I'm saying there are other organizations like us where you can learn the back end of a music deal. Like you can learn the back end of a ticket deal. Like a lot of artists that are successful don't ever get to do that. People that self-administer, like myself or other musicians, a lot of musicians, maybe like you, we didn't have an agent for the really long beginning of our career, and we never saw the deal. Like people that have an agent never see the deal, right? And so when you look at the math of the deal, you can say like, hey, I didn't want to drink 10 beers. Why is there 10 beers pre-bought in my deal? I only need 2 beers. And then all of a sudden you get extra $80 in your check, right? Like it's easy to look at the math in the back end of a music deal. And it's like that in films, and it's like that in theater, and it's like that. Working as an admin will give you access to the back end of how the money works for your own deals. And so it will give you access to controlling a budget. It'll give you access to like and all of those things take learning, but like, you know, like being able to do film budgets, if you like do your own films and then you have to learn how to do your own film budgets and fail at it a couple of times and submit them to applications and get feedback. Making film budgets pays a lot of money. Like all of those like Hallmark with like the same characters all over and over and over again that come and shoot here, they all need film budgets. And there's like 2 people in Manitoba that can do film budgets, and they're getting paid thousands of dollars to look at something for 3 hours. And so it's important that like those skills can be transferable and they can make you financially stable. And it is a little bit like biting the bullet, and it does take away from the cool moment that you experience with your keyboard or your guitar or your camera. But at the same time, they empower you to do so much better. Like as a director on big movies or on big sets, knowing what the budget looks like is super important, because you can ask for something totally ridiculous and the whole crew would laugh at you because you don't know that costs like, hey, can we do like the techno crane shot here because you saw it somewhere, and people will be like, yeah, it's $30,000 to bring the techno crane for a day. So you sound like an idiot. And so it's important that you like that you have those experiences that inform who you are and like put you in the right place and help you make a better living. Honestly, that's the easiest way to explain it. That applies for every art, and people that are multidisciplinary artists get to see it from so many different ways, which is, you know, also a blessing that takes a lot of work, but a blessing.
Yeah, never underestimate the back end, knowing how to do a budget, knowing how to navigate through contracts, reading them, understanding what's reasonable, what's not reasonable. It's so key. I mean, we used to be in an age where, like, say as an actor, I could go audition and then somebody takes care of the back end, booking me the role. What does my contract look like? And I just get to show up and act. That is becoming rarer and rarer. We all have to have autonomy over who we are, what we do, and what we put forth into the world as our art. And as an arts administrator, apparently I just love arts administration. As an arts administrator, you get to be right at the heart of it. So for me in marketing, I had to post a lot on Instagram, and I had to come up with a marketing plan. And having to do budgets or having to do contracts wasn't necessarily in my purview. But if it's not in my purview and it's something that I need to know, I ask. I'm like, hey, I know this isn't my job, but I would love to learn how to do this. So can I just watch and learn from you and ask questions? And so, like, again, it's such a great way to forge connections, to understand back end deals that, frankly, as successful artists, we all have to know. Like Erica, Jorge, Allison, like, I'm sure we all know how to budget certain projects. I think we all know how to navigate, like, write our own contracts if we need to, how to outreach, how to deal with communicating as a team, and what's the best way to communicate with like different sizes of teams, different people working very different disciplines within the same project. It's so important. Is it glamorous? No, but it makes you a better artist, and it, like, frankly, makes you a lot more hireable.
But it can be glamorous also. Like I feel like, because if you're looking at a budget and you're looking what like the LA directors getting paid, and you're like privy to that information because they need help with the budget, and you're like, it's like, this guy's getting paid $60,000 to come to Winnipeg for a month. I want to get paid $60,000 to come to, and you learn to like you like actually can set your goals, right? And that's not a real number. It's more money than that. It's not a real number. I'm not like sharing any private information, but you know, it like it can help you set your goals, because they're like, hey, I'll do it for $300 a day. That sounds like a lot of money if you're like living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Osborne Village and you're 21. But like if you have kids, like you can't do it for that much money, right? So like it's important to know what other people get paid, you know, like why they get paid that much, how much experience do you need to have to like get that, like, can I afford that house that I want to buy? Well, I need to get paid this much in a day, and who's going to pay me that? Like all of that stuff, information that you learn is as I was saying earlier, build your career, like, you know, like to fostering a creative career, build your career around the lifestyle that you want to live. And I think that you like the back end of admin will help you understand what that lifestyle is like. How many hours do you want to work in a day? Do you want to work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day? Right? Like you might not want to, and you might want to find a thing that allows you to work 4 hours a day. I'm not saying that you should, but as filmmakers, we never do, right? But it's important that you know what you want out of the job also. And I think the back end can allow you to do that.
All right, awesome sauce. I'll also just give a low-lying fruit answer. Artists have personas, so you don't have to always be who you are. You don't have to use your government name when you're being creative. You can be whomever you want to be. So when you're being an artist, you can have a go-by, an AKA. I can't tell you how many artists I learned their real name when I'm writing their checks out to pay them. So yeah, you can be whoever you want to be. And I invite you to get back into play, because I think the last 2 years we have forgotten how to play with each other. So I am inviting all the creatives to get back and get messy and play. All right, we are almost at that sad time when it's time to bid adieu, farewell, Avita saying goodbye. I don't even know if we have time for a last question. I think this might be when we give our lovely parting words. I would love to give everyone an opportunity to say any last bits or what parting words you want to give your public before you leave the quote unquote Zoom building. And I just want to thank everyone for sitting on a Saturday afternoon, listening to a bunch of people who have been very fortunate to have very nice, lovely careers and resumes share how we've had this process and how we've gotten to here. I can't wait to hear how you'll all get to there. But I want to just do a quick round robin with the people here who spent some lovely time with me. And I hope to meet you in person and just, have some food and drink with y'all and be friends, share a hug. I miss hugs. All right, Erica.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for your time this afternoon, for hearing our stories. And thank you, Allison. Thank you, Joanne. It's great to see you again, Jorge. And for all the artists here that I wish you well. And again, like if you need any sort of advice, feel free to reach out and just follow your passion.
Joanne.
Yeah, exactly what Erica said. Thanks everybody for sitting here on a Saturday afternoon. I know it's it's really white outside, so maybe this was a fun time for everybody, but I know that, it's Saturday, it's weekend, and a lot of people want to take time off. Thank you so much to everyone for your feedback that I see in the chat. And again, reach out anytime if you have any further questions that you didn't have time to ask. I'll speak for me and Erica, because she already offered. Please reach out in any way. You can get through us through Creative Manitoba. I think can give you our contact information. I'm on the socials, and it's if you need help, if you need advice, if you need a job, let me know. I will see what I can do for you.
Jorge.
I'm very honored to have been able to do this. I have lots of respect for the other three panelists. I don't feel like I'm up to the level with this people. Like, honestly, look for their work. They are incredible at what they do, and support each other. That's important. You want to have careers, buy tickets for each other's shows, show up to each other's screenings, show up to the distribution events. Make it an industry. Make it a scene. That's what we need in Manitoba. We need a scene. We need a scene of people that support each other, give each other work, hire each other for jobs, pay each other lots of money, as much as you can. I almost bankrupted my company paying people too much money, and I'm very proud of it. And thank you so much for inviting me. I'm just honored to feel like an expert here in this panel.
You are an expert, Jorge. You're amazeballs. But I have to give the mic to Cara so she can end the day beautifully with that phenomenal hair. Sis, braid life. So yes, over to you, Queen.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you again, Allison, Erica, Joanne, and Jorge. This was an amazing panel discussion. I'm left feeling just so energized and nurtured for sure. So thank you again. And I